Takudo, a boy suffering from a terminal illness, finds himself reincarnated into the world of his favorite strategy game following his death, accompanied by his beloved in-game companion. Together, they set out to build a powerful empire, mirroring the achievements they once made in the game. Unbeknownst to them, Takudo has been reborn as the fabled King of Ruin, destined to bring about the world's destruction to pave the way for its rebirth. Throughout his final days, Takudo immersed himself in Eternal Nations, a civilization-building game he had mastered. After completing everything there was to do in the game, he launches it one final time, only to quietly pass away soon after. He drifts into darkness, but when he opens his eyes again, he finds himself seated on a stone throne in the heart of a forest. Confused and disoriented, he's suddenly greeted by a figure he recognizes all too well. Takudo instantly recognizes the woman before him. She's none other than Atu, the Sludge Witch, his favorite character from Eternal Nations. He recalls how he had challenged himself by choosing the most difficult gameplay route, starting with the dark and crumbling kingdom of Minogra, known for its ruin and evil. Fortunately, this path included Atu, a character who begins weak but grows immensely powerful by absorbing the abilities of those she defeats, eventually becoming the game's strongest. When Atu addresses him as her king, Takudo is puzzled, unsure if he's meant to play along in some kind of elaborate roleplay scenario. But Atu quickly reassures him not to overthink the situation. She already knows everything about him. She even knows his name and teases that he's never experienced the outside world. She calls him the ultimate pro, the one who conquered the game on its hardest setting using the most challenging civilization. Takudo is stunned to realize that Atu is aware of her origins as a game character and of him as the player. She goes on to say that she remembers every game they played together. Atu reveals that she knows Takudo's playstyle inside out, including everything he ever said to her through the screen and even those more intimate moments he dedicated in her name. Overwhelmed with joy, Takudo is thrilled to finally speak with his favorite character in person. Atu responds by saying she's even happier to be with him. Curious, Takudo asks if this place is heaven and whether she brought him here. But Atu explains that she too was summoned and that the world around them feels just like the one from Eternal Nations. Atu suddenly kneels before Takudo, gently takes his hand, and tells him that as long as they're together, it doesn't matter where they are. She proposes that they join forces once again and create a civilization just for the two of them. Takudo is left speechless. Atu then helps him down from the throne, reminding him that they've conquered the world countless times before, and this could be their fresh start. The idea excites Takudo, and he asks Atu to stand by his side in building a magnificent new empire. She happily accepts, dramatically slipping into her role as a powerful witch and formally swearing her loyalty to him. However, both Takudo and Atu quickly become flustered, realizing how cheesy their dramatic exchange just sounded. Laughing it off, Takudo reminds Atu that she already knows the first thing they always do in Minogra. She agrees, confirming their signature move, becoming total shut-ins and concealing their presence from the rest of the world. Without delay, Takudo activates his emergency skill, summoning an enormous bug to scout the surrounding area. The two reflect on one of their key strategies from the game, staying completely hidden from other players during the early stages. Scouts like these are perfect for gathering intel without exposing their location. Takudo instructs the massive insect to survey the area, and it immediately speeds off to complete its task. Atu is taken aback by how seamlessly everything is working in this strange, unfamiliar world. Takudo explains that, just like in the game, he can view the bug's surroundings through its eyes. He also mentions that creating the scout used up half of his mana, so the next logical step is to establish a starting settlement for them. Takudo wishes he had just a bit more mana to summon a fighter for protection, but it's simply not an option at the moment. This disheartens Atu, as she's currently too weak to defend herself, let alone protect Takudo. While continuing to survey the surroundings through the bug's vision, Takudo notes that there's nothing but dense forest in sight. Feeling useless, Atu expresses her frustration, but Takudo gently reassures her that just having her by his side is enough. His words lift her spirits immediately. Suddenly, the scout encounters a group of weary, impoverished dark elves. Atu brightens up, pointing out that this is actually good news. Dark elves are a neutral race, albeit slightly aligned with neutral evil, and their homeland, the Loki Kingdom, shares the same alignment. Despite the seemingly good news, Takudo starts to feel uneasy. He begins to question whether this really is the world of eternal nations, especially if another civilization is already so close by. He fears that their fragile kingdom could be wiped out before it even begins. But Atu comforts him, saying that if any danger arises, they'll escape together. Takudo agrees wholeheartedly, realizing she's absolutely right. For now, he chooses to continue monitoring the Dark Elves while expanding the Scouts' search area. As the Dark Elves go about their rituals and cheerful festivities, a group of them suddenly stumbles upon Takudo and Atu. Both sides are equally stunned by the encounter. Seeing the potential threat, Atu instantly becomes protective, prepared to risk her life to defend her master if necessary. Turns out that Gia, the leader of the Dark Elves, was out searching for food for his starving, exhausted people, many of whom could barely move. His assistant had warned him against venturing into this forest, reminding him of the old legends claiming something deeply evil was sealed here. But Gia insisted he couldn't afford to turn back, not when his people's survival was at stake. Just as he was lost in thought, Gia suddenly found himself face to face with Takudo and Atu. To him, they looked like incarnations of pure evil. Takudo appeared as a dark, shadowy figure, which only deepened Gia's fear. Convinced that the terrifying legends were true, Gia realized one wrong move could doom his entire clan. Without hesitation, he dropped to his knees and introduced himself with utmost respect and caution. Gia's followers quickly follow his lead, kneeling before Takudo as well. Gia then apologizes for intruding on what he believes to be Takudo's domain. Atu suddenly switches into a tough, intimidating persona, acting like a gangster and remarking that it's good they understand their place. She demands to know why the Dark Elves have come to this area. Trying to earn their sympathy, Gia begins to share a dramatic story, but Atu quickly grows impatient and bluntly tells him to skip the theatrics, which startles him. In a panic, he admits that his clan was exiled by the ruling council and is still being hunted. Takudo then asks if they've been through extreme hardship, and Gia freezes, unsure how to respond. But when Atu sternly reminds him to answer the king's question, Gia nervously explains that their punishment was unfair and they were forced to take refuge in these cursed lands to survive. Gia explains that their food supplies ran out a week ago, and his people are now starving, unable to find anything edible in these unforgiving lands. As he reflects on the struggles his clan has endured, despite only wanting a peaceful life, he begins to fear that Takudo might turn out to be just another ruthless figure. To his shock, however, Takudo casually tosses a few apples toward him, suggesting he give them a try since they're quite tasty. Gia, unfamiliar with apples, is skeptical, but his followers, too hungry to wait, dive in eagerly and start devouring the fruit, marveling at how sweet and delicious it is. Takudo then goes a step further and conjures up some pears, leaving Gia completely speechless. Atu, noticing his hesitation, sharply questions why he isn't eating the fruits that her master has so generously offered. Gia quickly bows and explains that many in his tribe, especially the children, are still starving, and he would rather feed them before taking anything for himself. Moved by his sincerity, Takudo begins summoning large quantities of food, much to Gia's amazement and Atu's alarm. For dark elves like Gia, who have long been shunned due to their association with darkness, this kind of kindness is unheard of. No one had ever helped them before. Overwhelmed, Gia asks who Takudo really is, but Takudo simply replies that he should focus on bringing the food to his people. Gia and his group return to their camp, bringing the food with them, and for the first time in a while, everyone is able to eat to their heart's content. However, Gia keeps the source of the food a secret from the rest of the elves. That night, as he sits alone near the campfire, the clan elder approaches him. The elder mentions that the fruits they ate earlier were unlike anything he had encountered in his long life, more flavorful and unique than any he's ever tasted. Curious, he asks Gia where they came from. Gia then recounts his encounter with the mysterious and powerful figure they met in the forest. The elder is stunned, realizing that Gia may have met the King of Ruin, a being spoken of in ancient texts. According to those legends, when the world becomes overburdened and corrupted, the King of Ruin appears to destroy it and usher in a new beginning. Gia can't help but think that Takudo matches that description perfectly. In truth, Gia admits that he couldn't understand a single word Takudo said. He simply followed Atu's cues and acted accordingly. The elder remains uncertain about that detail, but then asks Gia if he offered anything in exchange for the food. When Gia says he didn't, the elder grows concerned, stating that no truly evil entity would show kindness without expecting something in return. Despite this, Gia insists that Takudo showed genuine compassion, moved by the suffering of their people. His belief in Takudo's mercy only angers the elder more, who questions how Gia can speak so respectfully of a being thought to be a harbinger of destruction. However, after a tense exchange, the elder ultimately acknowledges that Gia did what he had to do, and that, regardless of who Takudo is, he successfully secured food for the tribe in their time of need. Following their conversation, Elder Molter declares his intention to personally negotiate with the Dark King, believing that, as the eldest and most respected Dark Elf, he might be able to secure the peaceful future their clan has long hoped for. Meanwhile, Atu scolds Takudo for recklessly using his mana to produce food for the elves, especially since his reserves are limited. But the moment Takudo gently tells her not to be mad at him because he truly needs her, she immediately drops her anger and slips back into her sweet, doting self. The next